I've been teaching photography for about 10 years now. I started doing professional photography when I also started teaching it. I kind of just moved back to Los Angeles, and after spending all my time in the darkroom up until college and then doing some traveling and denying that it's what I always wanted to do, I decided I would commit to it, and this is what I'm meant to do. I was meant to be an artist, a photographer. And I want to talk about today what it is I continue to see to this day that seems to be the biggest obstacle to people just starting out in photography. And that would be fear. The fear of actually going out and making images. It's different with kids. I do teach kids as well, and the kids are much freer. They'll just go out, not all of them. The younger kids, though, for sure. They go out, they experiment, they play. It's really play. They go out, they shoot. They don't have judgment. They just make images. They press the shutter. They try things. They try different angles. But the older my students get, especially full-grown adults, the more fear they have to even press the shutter, which is crazy to me because I learned on film and digital is throwaway. I mean, you just shoot as much as you want. Each image does not have to mean the world. That has pros and cons, but for the learning experience, it means you can go out and shoot as much as you want and just try things. But I find that my students aren't able to. Now, there's some good reasons for why. Some of them, they make it to class every week, but then they're busy with work and they just don't find time to shoot. For those people, I have tips, and I give them those tips on how to get themselves to shoot, how to work with different time constraints, because some people, they work 5 days a week without a minute to breathe, and some people, they work every day but not all day. Maybe they're self-employed, etc. And so I give them different tips. One would be doing a photo a day, taking a 5-minute walk and bringing your camera, dedicate a day to shooting, do a weekly mini trip, a staycation if you will, with your partner if you have one, and other tips like that. But some, no matter what, they're not looking for tips. They're just scared to make images, and they don't understand the best way to get good at photography is by doing photography. It's the same with any sport. I've talked about this before in my channel. If you want to get good at something, you have to practice it. You can't learn to play baseball in a book. You can get some interesting insight, you can get tips, you can learn technique, but to actually get good at anything, take guitar, you have to play guitar. And that can actually be practiced in your mind, and there are studies where they're saying it doesn't matter if it's real or in your mind. If you rehearse things in your mind, you get better. And so that's one tip right there. You go out and you can practice making images without actually having a camera. You can think about, how would I make this image? And I haven't published it yet. I've been working on this video where I want to talk about how to see in focal lengths, but another thing you can practice is just learning your focal lengths and then seeing your daily life. Think about how an image would look in a specific focal length, and you can get used to that. And that's a good practice tip if you want to just get more familiar with how your camera sees versus how you see. So why are my students so afraid to make images? I think it comes down to ego, and whenever I talk about ego, some people get it, some don't. I've had students, they think I always clarify when I talk about how ego gets in the way of learning that I don't mean ego like having a big ego, meaning you think you're the best at everything. It's the opposite, actually. I'm talking about the conscious part of your brain that has to define who you are all the time and compare yourself to others. Are you good? Are you bad? Like, who cares? Just go out and make images. But they're scared of failing at making images. They're scared of judgment, whether it's coming from me or themselves. I don't think it's from me. I think it's really coming from themselves. As far as critiques, I know I could be kinder, or I could coddle people more, but I know in my heart, like, I only give information that would benefit them, and I also am very clear about where I draw the line of like an opinion versus an objective fact. And often I'll give them options in their composition, not answers. I won't say, hey, this is how you should do this, or that way or this way. I say, here are a few options, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. Or maybe I will also say, this is my opinion, but it's not the right answer, or I'll flip it to the class and ask other people's opinion. Usually we have somewhat of a consensus on different things, and that's helpful. But I don't think that's why people aren't taking photographs. So when I give my critiques, they're very much beneficial to my students, and I don't I'll say if I like something. I don't ever say this is bad. I don't think that's helpful. You have to at least you have to always give constructive information. And I know this is not why they're not shooting. It's ego. So if you want to get better at anything, you have to practice it. So yes, some people don't have the time to make images. They don't have time to go out and shoot, or they don't know how to manage their schedule to do so. And then there's fear. Fear is a huge one. A lot of people are just terrified because of their ego to make an image out of judgment from themselves. But the third thing that I think people need to ask themselves, and this is the hard one, is are you truly in love with this craft, with the art of photography, or are you in love with the idea of it? Because a lot of people, they think they want to pursue something, and the reality is they don't. If you really love playing guitar, you would play guitar, right? This is barring all these other things I mentioned. But if you've already tackled these other things, which if you don't really love it, you're probably not doing. But if you've already made sure it's not a time thing and you've gotten yourself to go out and shoot, you've already dealt with your ego and you are just learning to have fun and play, then you're still not enjoying this, and it's not for you. And I hate saying that, but isn't that liberating to like just admit something's not for you? And that's a good thing, because let me tell you, if you don't love something, you won't stick with it. I relate a lot of things to jujitsu because that's like my other big world. I've been doing that for it's hard, it's kind of crazy, but I've been doing that for almost 15 years, and you see a lot of tough guys come into the gym where they think they love jujitsu or they love martial arts, and then their ego gets checked and they get beat by some scrawny kid. Big tough guy gets beat by a small woman, or they go hard for a year and they are consistently training, but the reality is they're in love with the black belt that they want to get, but not the actual practice. And that's what you need to ask yourself. Are you in love with the practice, with the experience, with the shooting, or are you just in love with the idea of maybe whatever that would be? All right, that's it for this video. I know it was a bit long. I know a lot of people don't watch these types of videos, and I keep making them anyway. So if you are one of those people that do enjoy it and you make it to the end, let me know in the comments. I would appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, I'm a professional photographer that focuses on event photography, specializing in natural, candid, and just emotional moments. And that's mostly what I talk about, plus my passion for film photography. I know there's a lot of channels out there that have laser focus and they do really well. And while I see why, I just refuse to do it because I am a working photographer that has a YouTube channel. I'm not a YouTuber. You can call me a YouTuber if you want, but I draw a distinction between someone who is a YouTube photographer and someone who is an actual working photographer who also has a YouTube. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys soon.